Hi, I'm Kyla. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a little bit since I've posted, which I intended to take a break. I didn't intend to take as long of a break, but I've just had like so much stuff going on the last, honestly, year, even like more than a year. I don't really want to get into it all, but I'm hoping to be back on a more regular schedule now, which I know I've said that before, so it's probably like really annoying to hear that and you're like, whatever. I don't really believe you. I don't blame you if that's what you're thinking, but I am hoping to be back regularly posting now, at least somewhat more regular than I have been. But yeah, before we get into it, all my social media links will be down below. With that being said, we'll just get into the topic of today's video. Today we're going to be discussing a statement that was put out by an ex-Young Living representative, and she was also actually oh my god, what do they call it? I keep messing this up. She was the Director of Global Education, and her name is Lindsey Elmore. She recently came out with a statement because Young Living is pursuing legal action about her. So today we're going to react to her statement and just break down all the things that are said within that. For those of you who don't know who Lindsey Elmore is, like I mentioned, she was a rep with Young Living, but more than that, she was also their Director of Global Education. I literally have to look at that every single time. And according to her, which I did hear this from the very beginning of her video, I didn't watch her whole video at all, but she did say that the highest rank that she made it to within Young Living is Senior Star, which they have an annual yearly salary of anywhere from like $1,500 to $60,000. While she was with Young Living, she was treated like royalty because she is a doctor, and so her formal education really did help validate the really outlandish claims that Young Living likes to make. Lindsey quit Young Living. She started with another MLM. It's called, I read it as Amar or Amer, but I think it's Amari or something like that, which that kind of seems like for a lot of people anyways, and this is all alleged. I have to say that because I'm not trying to say anything that could be taken as fact, or, you know, I don't want to spread false information, but I personally think, and what it seems like to a lot of people, is that that could be why Young Living is allegedly taking legal action against her, because a lot of MLMs do actually have within their terms of service and the policies that you agree to when you sign up that you can't just switch from one MLM, like you can't jump to one MLM to another, and recruiting your previous downline and trying to get them to move over with you is also not allowed. This is all alleged. I'm not saying that's why Young Living pursued action against her, and I'm not even saying that that's what she did. It's just interesting that she did jump to a different MLM before all this stuff started happening. As always, I'm going to like pause the video while we're watching to just kind of react to parts of what's being said, but we'll go ahead and start listening to that because it is, I believe, about 30 minutes or so. Okay, so it's a 21-minute video. We'll get into it. I'm gonna pop the video up on the screen here now and we will just react to what is said.
We are live. It is Tuesday. All right, we have a few viewers, so here we go. It is with heavy heart that I am making this statement. Unfortunately, for nearly 2 years, Young Living has pursued legal action against me and will simply not let me walk away and earn a living. They are determined to make an example out of me, and at this point, I cannot sit silently anymore. There is so much misinformation about me and my relationship with Young Living that it is time to clarify. Here is my story. I enrolled as a distributor of Young Living in late 2013, and for several months aimed to grow a business. The maximum rank I ever reached with Young Living was Senior Star. When I saw that the Director of Global Education quit Young Living in 2014, I immediately approached my diamond for an introduction to the executives for an interview. I was on a plane within 48 hours to fly to Utah to interview for the position, which I, at the time, described as my dream job. I was offered the position on the spot and signed the contract with tears in my eyes, and I told the Human Resources Director that I would someday retire from this company. During the interview, I was asked by the Chief Operating Officer if I was willing to give up my pursuit of Royal Crown Diamond and place emphasis on being an employee, and I agreed. I was then instructed by Mary Young to never give up my downline and that it would continue to grow despite me. I have since discovered that this is not the case in network marketing. Your organization will not grow unless you work. Had I ignored this advice, Young Living would have little to no grounds to pursue legal action against me, as they are attempting to hold me under the same distributor agreement that every wholesale partner signs.
Okay, I want to pause right there really quick to touch on kind of what she said so far. But I do find it interesting how she said that after like several months of trying to grow her downline, she reached senior star, which is only like the second or third tier. I'll pop the income disclosure up here, which of course that can have at least the most high earning person in that position is making about $60,000 a year, which is a great salary. But most people, it seems like, are making more, so around $1,500. So she honestly wasn't making a lot, it seems like, when she reached out for the job of Director of Global Education. I don't know what it is about that term that just won't stick in my head. But yeah, it seems like she wasn't honestly making that much. And it's also interesting to me again that she's saying that after several months, so she's working for this company for several months, she's probably not making that much. She was lucky in kind of a rare case where there was a position open that she was apparently qualified for and was able to move over and do that. But the other thing that I find interesting is that she said specifically that the thing that MLMs teach you about how your downline will just grow despite you maybe leaving in the back burner, that wasn't true. She found out that it didn't really grow that much. At least that's what she's saying so far. Not going to be residual income or passive income, all the things they love to say. And according to Lindsey, it's her opinion that because she took that advice and kept the downline going and just sort of left it in the back burner while she focused on her new corporate position. So she's basically saying that despite leaving that in the back burner, she's now being held to those same rules, even though had she just ignored that advice and like kind of closed her account and just did corporate, she wouldn't be facing these issues at all. So that's really interesting. She also said that they wanted to make an example out of her. And I feel like that could be a dig towards all the other people. Like a lot of the top distributors of Young Living have switched to Modere. So I feel like maybe she thinks that they're trying to make an example of her just because a lot of people have switched and started recruiting for a different MLM and they, at least to my knowledge, aren't facing quite the same repercussions. But anyways, we will continue on.
When the FDA threatened Young Living in 2014 for claims that the products could treat Ebola, I painstakingly worked on reviving the reputation of the company by taking a pivotal role in the Say This, Not That campaign and sharing Young Living the right way. I also worked on the Claims Substantiation Committee, and this was difficult work as few of the products had claims that could be thoroughly substantiated. This past year, when Young Living was...
Okay, just have to pause there again because I'll forget. But she also said that few of the products, she just said this here now, few of the products have claims that could be substantiated, meaning she really couldn't back up a lot of the claims that they're making, and that put a strain on her in her position because she's trying to substantiate their claims or give them different things to say that are actually true, and she was struggling to find things. So I just want to point that out because, again, us anti-MLMers have been saying things like that or to that degree this whole time, and it's really interesting to me to see that when people leave they start admitting that that's true, but when they're in it we're just all haters and we got our tinfoil hats on and we think everything's a conspiracy and blah blah blah. So yeah.
Sent another letter from the FDA. It named someone that I genuinely thought was a friend and who I genuinely care about. I reached out to them simply to say this has to be tough. And she told me that my behavior, recruiting for another MLM more than 2 years after my separation from Young Living, was disgusting. And this was just the beginning of the ostracization that I faced from field leadership. Young Living has still not learned their lesson because at the time of writing of this statement, one of their diamonds still has on their Instagram how to use Detoxzyme and multigreens as so-called Rona support. When a field member reached out to Young Living's conduct department and expressed concerns about Young Living's website being non-compliant, she was told to always respond with, Young Living always tries to keep their website current, but when in doubt, reach out to conduct. At one gold retreat, I attempted to help a Royal Crown Diamond with a history of not being able to stay on FDA messaging and was instructed by one of Young Living's attorneys to take notes on what Gary had said from stage. Reporting back on what I saw and heard that day resulted in me being removed from all stage presentations at convention and ultimately required me to make the choice of being fired or transferred to our London offices. I worked tirelessly to help ensure FDA compliance and unfortunately failed. The workplace was so abusive that I was wrongfully accused of sleeping with Gary Young by one of Young Living's former attorneys, and my name was defamed in meetings.
Okay, I need to pause there to address that really quickly. Obviously, I have no idea if that's true or not. I don't personally believe that the claims made against Lindsey in this aspect are true, obviously. I think that's ridiculous, but unfortunately not very surprising. Of course, Lindsey, unfortunately, is dealing with that on a much greater scale. She's facing legal action, defamation, as she says, things like that, which not everyone, of course, is going to be in that position. But even just a touch of what she said there, where she messaged someone who she thought was a friend, and they told her that despite being out of Young Living for 2 years at that point, that she was disgusting for working for a different MLM. And this was someone who she said herself she considered a close friend. That's something that, again, we as anti-MLMers talk about all the time, how these people who you think are your friends, they really aren't, and as soon as you aren't drinking the Kool-Aid with them, they will turn on you. What other job would you be in where people act like that? Like, I've worked in my retail position for coming on 4 years, I think. Yeah, it'll be just about 4 years in January, and I can't imagine, like, I've seen tons of people get hired, I've seen tons of people quit. I can't imagine having any hostility towards people who quit and move on to things that are better for them. I would never be anything but happy for people who are my genuine friends to move on to things that serve them better or that pay them better or that will make their lives better. Like, how would I ever be mad at that? And I don't get what it is about MLMs, aside from I think the fact that because if someone's in your upline or your downline, especially if your downline starts quitting, that's money that you're losing because they aren't recruiting anymore, and it's more work that you're gonna have to do to pick up the slack. And so I think that that's like a huge issue with the interpersonal relationships that happen in MLMs, is there's way too much reliant on the relationships that just isn't normal. Like, someone quitting from the job that I work at has no impact on me. It doesn't impact my pay, it doesn't impact what I do when I go to work. So I think that it's just a totally different ball game. And this is why a lot of the times anti-MLMers will compare MLMs to cults, and MLMers get like furious at that comparison. But the reason why it comes up is because of this exact behavior that she's talking about, where as soon as she wanted out or as soon as she was done, people just flipped on her, and in a really major way in this case with Lindsey specifically. But anyways, we will continue listening.
I was called the Black Widow for my choice to wear black clothing. And there is so much discrimination against women in the workplace. I was once told I might be fired for wearing pants, and was asked my dress size by one of the executives, and was then told, "You look way bigger than that." I was instructed to provide models for raindrop techniques that were not fat and good looking. Other female staff members have been criticized for wearing everything from hair extensions to eyelash extensions, to too much makeup, to too tight of clothing, to too loose of clothing. And we have been told that it distracts male staffers. The field leadership continues to harass me. I could have shared messages that their field leadership who say that they have lost so much respect for me, and how MLMs are simply paying leaders to come over. One of their diamonds literally told me to F off in full text in writing. I have never been paid a single penny in any business development agreement or what is commonly called a bridge deal to join any other MLM. Multiple field leaders submitted paperwork to be used against me in federal court. Some of you, I genuinely thought were my friends. We have traveled together, we have spoken together at events, and I now see that you value what I did and not who I am. When Young Living reached an agreement with the Department of Justice for their illegal sourcing of rosewood and spikenard essential oils, I was tasked with helping to remove the products containing those oils from inventory in the London Will Call Center. Prior to the agreements being met with the Department of Justice, I was asked to help smooth things over with the distributor base by making videos claiming that out-of-stock products were due to seasonal variations in essential oil availability. At the time, I didn't know that I was being asked to push a narrative that was patently false. When Mary was writing the D. Gary Young book, I refused to help track down photos of Gary sourcing rosewood with one of Mary's family members who was there at the time. I dissuaded Mary from including them in the book. I also worked with management to help get distillation wastewater dumping removed from Young Living's Flickr account. During my time in London, a crown diamond and their partner were both terminated, and a platinum shot up 2 ranks to crown diamond. And this was the first time that I realized and recognized what I believed to be Federal Trade Commission's violations that were taking place right under my nose. Later, when an employee of the year was let go for pulling strings to build their spouse to the rank of platinum, when they departed, they were allowed to keep their organization that was built by orphan placements. I was appalled by the utter disregard of how the compensation plan was being manipulated. Since the departure of multiple senior field leaders, the manipulations and organizations being moved cross-line instead of compressing upward is well documented by my colleagues. More recently, one of the beneficiaries of one of these moves sent in paperwork to be used against me in federal proceedings. And she had no knowledge of how easy it would be to see that she was gifted an organization outside of the policies and procedures. We also have seen evidence of Young Living withholding pay from distributors, sometimes in excess of $10,000. We also see movement of product across third-party intermediaries to place products on Amazon, with volume flowing up through distributors, which resulted in them upranking to Royal Crown Diamond. We can simply see that the compensation company-wide is declining because we can compare the 2016 income disclosure statement to the 2022 income disclosure statement. Furthermore, it's been publicly documented that executives at Young Living have taken pay cuts, and Mary Young stated on stage that the company is operating at a loss. Posts in the Diamond Dudes group also stated that most of our team's paychecks have been cut by a significant percentage, and, quote, Young Living seems to be very reactive, unquote. And I get nervous, this is also a quote, and I get nervous about how often we have heard Young Living is not going under from corporate recently. As well as, quote, it seems every time we have a negative metric, we start comparing ourselves to other companies and start saying that YL is not doing as bad as them. This doesn't make me feel better, among other statements, unquote. Young Living has gone through rounds of termination where people were let go without warning and overseas markets were closed, leaving the distributors without a source of income. Top leadership has left Young Living in part because of declining pay and ethical concerns. There are not only members of their field that are secretly members of other MLMs, but members of their C-suite are customers, as well as people on their sales team. One corporate employee of Young Living's spouse asked for my help supporting their child's fundraisers, who was making recognition bracelets for another MLM. More about what happened in London. Within 2 months of me moving to London, there was a phone call between the general manager of Europe, Gary Young, and a hugely influential field leader, among others. It was told to me that the phone call was so abusive that the general manager resigned, as well as the director of human resources and finance. This left me as the highest ranking person in the office, and I was instructed to hold the office together. For months, I single-handedly ran sales, marketing, events, and education, and worked around the clock to ensure that Young Living remained successful. Despite my tireless efforts to promote and sustain the company, Young Living refused to ever promote me beyond the level of director. Also during my time in London, I had ignored my distributorship for so long that it was canceled and it had to get reinstated by the then chief financial officer. In December of 2017, I was part of a mass firing of more than 17 people from the London office, including our employee of the year who had to be called in from Christmas vacation to be terminated. The terminations were under the instruction directly of Gary Young, as well as heavily weighed into by a Royal Crown Diamond and a hugely influential field leader. Following my termination, I was contracted as a brand ambassador. Young Living claims that I was highly compensated for this role. This is incorrect because during my time as an employee, I was instructed by management to oversee contract negotiations with influencers and speakers who were compensated similarly or massively more than me. One of the contracts that I was instructed to negotiate by management was with a convicted murderer who was paid $5,000 a month to promote Young Living.
Okay, I'm gonna pause there again. I've kind of been typing down some notes. I just have my laptop here just to make sure I don't forget everything, so I don't pause like way too often to really even hear what she's saying. But okay, just going back a little bit, she said, Lindsey had said that she witnessed multiple FTC violations, which again is really interesting because, and I'm gonna keep relating this back to it, but anti-MLMers have been saying things like this about FTC violations and policy violations and false claims and yada 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 for literally ever. It is interesting to hear someone say this, and I mean it's also interesting the fact that she joined another MLM after this. Like for me, this would have been more than enough. She said that people were fired from their like uplines higher up in the company were fired, and then it apparently what's supposed to happen is the downline that's under them is I think just supposed to shift up, like whoever was at the top, just it all like moves up a rank or something. I don't know if I fully understand that because I was obviously never in that position to go through that. But instead of things going the way they were, their compensation plan, she says it was manipulated and that downline was just shifted directly under someone else across instead of it pushing upward. Young Living also has been withholding pay in excess of $10,000, which is also just insane. And if anything, that just totally ties in with the claims that we're seeing about these being liquidation sales that are going on. So let me know what you guys think about that down below too. If you've seen anything about the like liquidation sales and all that that are supposedly going on with Young Living, it really does seem that way. But hearing this about them withholding pay and just like the absolute, excuse my language, but like shit show that Young Living, both the corporate side and the company side seems to be, it's just insane. And according to Lindsey, it seems like there are people selling through third party, Amazon selling, and the volume that's ordered for those, so like basically a wholesale volume, the value of that sale goes to the distributor, who then they obviously rank up a ton because of the volume being ordered, and they're ranking up to like royal diamond status and things like that. But it is very obvious that it's declining. And there was a video, which I'm using this one in my other video that I mentioned I'm going to be making about the liquidation sales and all that, but Mary herself has said in a talk that Young Living is operating at a loss, which obviously that's not good. She said it pretty casually, but no company can operate at a loss for very long, and it doesn't seem like things are getting any better. If anything, with all the drama and people leaving and all this stuff coming out and the products being kind of janky lately, it seems like if anything, things are getting worse. Lindsey also made some interesting claims, which again, all alleged. I have no idea who this would apply to or if it's even true, of people higher up in Young Living also seemingly being involved with other MLMs kind of like in the shadows. She mentioned one person who like their kid was making little DIY bracelets for a different MLM as like a fundraiser. And then she talked about when corporate sort of went more to shit, and this is kind of getting up to where we are in the video now, but how she was essentially wearing like all the hats possible because the director in the London office that she was working at left. And so she was essentially told to take over their entire role to keep the office running smoothly. Basically, like the whole weight of that office was on her shoulders, and she wasn't even promoted. She was told she couldn't get a promotion. And then afterwards, she was fired with 17 other people from corporate. I'm not laughing, like I am laughing actually. But I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing at like how ridiculous it is to have someone do all of that to work their ass off, not even promote them, and then not only do you not promote them, but then you fire them along with 17 other people. Like Young Living is just a prime example of how not to run a business, clearly. And I also found it really interesting, all of what she was saying, this was a bit earlier in the video, about just like the blatant misogyny, the harassment essentially it seemed like that was going on. I mean, them making up a rumor that Lindsey was like sleeping with Gary, which is false, and saying that everyone has to look attractive, but like, oh, don't dress like too scantily or you'll make the male workers in the office uncomfortable, like as if it's a grade school and we have to monitor women's bodies, which shouldn't happen anywhere, but especially not in an adult corporate structure. That's just ridiculous. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to touch on this. Young Living at one point was illegally sourcing some of their oils, and then of course when they got caught and the oils were no longer in stock, she was told to make a video, Lindsey was told to make a video saying to all the downlines that they were out of stock due to like just seasonal availability of oils, things like that, which again is just insane. And it just goes to show you how these people will lie about literally anything, and nothing that they say should be trusted. Nothing they say about if the company's shutting down should be trusted. None of the claims they say should be trusted. None of the information about where they source their products from should be trusted, because a lot of the time things like this come out and it just totally like the curtain is drawn back and it really reveals like all the shady stuff that goes on. But anyways, we will keep watching, but so far I have found pretty much everything to be Both surprising and not surprising at the same time. So let me know what you think down below, if you're like totally surprised by a lot of the claims she's making, or if it's kind of like, that's what I expected.
Through my time as a brand ambassador, I consistently delivered education at the highest possible levels, made myself available at the drop of a hat to travel to foreign markets, and consistently attracted crowds of thousands. Through my years as a brand ambassador, I helped Young Living sell millions of dollars worth of product, including one event in Monterrey, Mexico, where we sold $4 million in product in one weekend. We attracted a crowd of 4,000 people. There are instances of my educational talks out of stocking products like Pettigrain. I worked around the clock at Young Living conventions, sometimes being scheduled from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Because of my background in education, I provided credibility to the company with satellite media tours, in written press, on television press, and on social media. I was once told by the brand ambassador program administrator that without me, there would be no brand ambassador program. During my time as a brand ambassador, I used my own money to build the largest base of Young Living education that existed in the world, and it was called YL Ed Club. It encompassed hundreds of product videos, business videos, PowerPoint slide decks, scripts, programs, and more. The Young Living executive team knew of the existence of this website, and we were even in negotiations for Young Living to purchase the platform, and I presented a strategy to diversify it, collect content from key field leaders and employees to make a platform that was appropriate for the entire field. At the end of my brand ambassadorship, we begged for a public statement clarifying that I was no longer affiliated with Young Living, and Young Living refused. For almost 18 months, Young Living knowingly allowed YL Ed Club to continue operations despite concerns from the conduct department that we had no trademark licensing agreement. The executives simply did not want to deal with it and likely knew that the site continued to drive sales for them. Young Living has threatened legal action against me, and their legal pursuits continue despite every reasonable attempt to reach a conclusion with this. They went as far as to sue me in federal court. I maintained my distributorship because it was static and I wasn't growing a business, and I still didn't rank ever even higher than senior star. And I was typically ranking at star or partner. After hearing more of the abuses that Young Living has put their members through in January of 2022, I completely canceled my account, which took great effort. I learned so much more about Young Living, not only terminating distributors who decide to be members of other MLMs, even if just as a customer, but then they will turn around and terminate their entire family. And there are multiple allegations out there of potential compensation plan manipulations where there was not compression as there should have been, as well as allegations of illegal sourcing, false seed to seal marketing claims, and a semi-functional website which makes doing business for partners difficult was simply unconscionable to me. I have faced endless questions on social media about Young Living's products, their marketing, and why my relationship is not as it once was. The essential oils that Young Living sells are merely commodities that they import via the same sourcing as not only their MLM competitors, but some of the largest pharmaceutical, cosmetic, and chemical companies in the world. These are documented in public record through companies like Import Key, Import Yeti, and Import Report. I have also expressed concerns throughout my career about some of the ingredients and the quality of the ingredients. When Master Formula was launched, I highly questioned the inclusion of PABA, which is a known toxin that is poisonous to the kidneys and the liver and has very little legitimate medical use. There was an article that came out in 2015 where Walmart was accused of putting sand in their products. And despite railing on stage against Walmart for including the sand in their supplements, Gary Young would not admit that so too did Master Formula, Allerzyme, Essential Zymes 4, Femigen, and Comfortone, as silicon dioxide is a well-known flow agent used consistently in compounding. Life 9 also contains silica as a flow agent, and for years I attempted to correct these false claims. There are so many ingredients in Young Living supplements that are potentially allergenic. There's wheat germ oil in the carrier oils, nightshades in Master Formula, Ninja Red, Ninja Nitro, Ninja Zing, Mighty Vite, Sleek Shake, whey protein and Pure Protein Complete, milk and soy in Balance Complete, milk in Ninja Nitro, soy in Endogize, bromelain in the digestive enzymes, bee pollen and mineral essence and Essential Zymes 4, etc., etc., etc. There are animal-based products in some of the products as well. Despite one Young Living Royal Crown Diamond critiquing publicly another MLM's protein powder for containing natural flavors, so too does Balance Complete and Sleek Shake. There are added sugars in multiple products, and some foreign markets refuse to even accept their products because there's so much added sugar. Omegagize contains tilapia as the source of fish oil, which is regarded by some as low quality because the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids is pro-inflammatory in some people. The concentration of essential oils were so high inside the oil capsules of Master Formula, Sleep Essence, and Inner Defense that gastrointestinal side effects were reported to me regularly. For years, I advocated for label changes on Thiamin because when the dose was labeled at 2 capsules per day, the dose of iodine was right at the FDA's tolerable upper intake limit, and iodine is not a benign supplement when taken in excess. I was also concerned about the recommended administration strategies of Thiamin because it is well known that thyroid hormone spikes in the morning and goes down at night, and to take a thyroid supplement at night is simply illogical, and it doesn't match our body's physiology. And I taught from stage for years, take it in the morning. The doses of pregnenolone and dihydroepiandrosterone in PD8020 are some of the highest that I have seen in my entire career, and I could go on. The bottom line, I was an employee of Young Living. I was fired.
Okay, I'm gonna pause there just before she talks the last couple minutes about her relationship with Young Living, just to touch on what was said. Sorry, it's getting kind of dark. It's literally 2:42, but it's already getting dark out. Love that for me, but let's just see. Okay, so Lindsey mentioned she maintained her distributorship because it was static and she basically just like left it in the back burner, and essentially at that point in time she was only reaching the ranks of partner or star, which are like the bottom 2 ranks in Young Living, meaning she was probably not making anything at all, or if she was, the month she hit star, it was very little. And that when she went to cancel her account in January of 2022, which I don't know why it took her this long, I'm not trying to like crap on her and say like, oh, she should have known better. It makes me wonder what made her take so long to cancel her account, but I guess it was just sort of like in the back burner. But you'd think there would have been like some emails coming through or something. It just was interesting when I heard her say that she canceled her account in January 2022 despite like a lot of the shit going down years prior. And she said she also learned about Young Living terminating distributors who are part of other MLMs even as a customer, which I think it's kind of crappy to terminate someone, especially if this is the job that they rely on for their paycheck to take care of themselves and their families. But it does say, unfortunately, in the agreements that people do sign that you can't work for or be associated with other MLMs. I mean, I'm surprised they can terminate you just for buying from another MLM. They preach so much like, oh, support your family. Like if your sister's in an MLM, like you should be buying from her, you should be signing up, your family should be like supporting you. But if your family member or your friend or someone is in a different MLM, that support, like you can't support them. Again, it's giving very much like cult. She also said there was, again, multiple allegations of the comp plan manipulation, which to me is interesting because it kind of seems like if they don't like what you're doing, they're just gonna have their way with your paycheck. And she also touched on like all the false claims that were made and the awful website making it nearly impossible for the business partners to actually succeed, which I'm gonna touch way more on that in the video about like the liquidation sale that's going on. I keep calling it the liquidation sale. It's not truly, but like that's what it seems like. But I'm gonna touch more on that because that was a huge issue when they were doing this massive sale, that after years and years of business, a lot of people were criticizing how poorly run the website is. And now the really interesting part of the last bit that we were just talking about is everything that she just exposed about the product. Despite that, I figured that Young Living would have tons of false claims that they're making, especially like from distributors about what the products do. I thought that at least what Young Living was claiming would be a little bit more on the side of true. I definitely didn't believe all of it. Obviously, I don't really believe all of anything an MLM would say. She said that the essential oils they order are commodities that are imported from the same sources as their MLM competitors and even other stores, pharmaceutical companies, etc., and that can all be linked through public record. Lindsey also said she expressed concern about like toxins being in some of the products and ingredients that could be considered allergens in Young Living products. A lot of them had animal products despite being told that they wouldn't. She said one Royal Crown Diamond was actually criticizing another MLM for having added flavors, which can be a bad thing, but they had added flavors in one of their products, and yet Young Living has the same, and they also have so much sugar added in that some places won't even sell their products, which I just find that so interesting because they want to say that it's the healthiest that you can be. The products are the best, the cleanest, the healthiest, everything like that. So to find out that it's pretty much confirmed they're extremely low quality and full of junk is disappointing but not surprising, I have to say. And Lindsey also said that she had pushed for labeling changes, which this was something that, this is kind of my interpretation of what she said, but she's pushed for labeling changes of a supplement containing iodine because, and this is my non-scientific explanation of that, but what I got from what she said, and feel free to let me know if I'm incorrect down below, but she was saying that the amount in the suggested serving, which was 2 tablets of it, or 2 pills, whatever, the amount of iodine in it would be like at the cap of your like daily max where it's safe to take, which I mean, it's not over, it's at the cap, but with that being said, if you take any or end up having any from other sources, you'll actually be over, and that iodine in supplements is something that's not benign and that there can be side effects. So what I gather from what she's saying essentially is this is one where like if you're a bit over, there can actually be adverse side effects. That's what I got from that. I'm not a doctor. I don't know really anything. I don't really take any supplements because the whole idea of them kind of freaks me out, I'm not gonna lie. It just seemed like they really didn't care. She even said with one of the thyroid supplements that they have that the time that was suggested to take it wouldn't actually really make that good of sense with the way that your body behaves with thyroid issues. I'm not a doctor. She is a doctor. Her opinion's obviously worth more than mine on that aspect, but I am agreeing with her. But the part that I would really wish that I could ask to her, if I could talk to her, and this, it's gonna come off like kind of victim blaming, which really sucks, and like I don't mean to come off that way, but I would love to know like why she stayed so long, or like why it took her so long with seeing all this to like do something. I get there's only so much she could do, and obviously she's facing legal repercussion even from this, so I'm sure it was a huge battle to even be able to say this. I'm sure this note that she's reading off of was drafted with a lawyer, so I don't think that there was a lot that she could have just like come right out and said. But it's interesting to me that someone with all this education and someone who is a doctor would see these things like poor quality ingredients being mislabeled, or like supplement usages that they shouldn't be the way they are. I would be curious to know what kept her there so long, because I can't see that being a super new issue. I mean, maybe the supplements are a bit newer. I don't really know. Like, let me know down below if you have any thoughts on that, or I would love to hear your just like opinions, even if it isn't backed in fact. Like, just let me know, like, hey, this is just my opinion. Just because I would think, like, if I put myself into the perspective of a doctor, if I was working for a company that was making like false health claims, was saying their products were sourced from one place and they're being sourced from another, and it's like an illegal place to source, or they're saying they don't contain this but they do, I would be running so far away from that as quickly as I can, because it would almost like destroy your credibility as a doctor, because it's like, well, why would you sit by and work for a company and promote a company, not even just work for a company, but promote a company where that's going on when you do have the knowledge to know? Because a lot of the people in MLMs genuinely don't know that. They don't know better. They hear what they're told and they take it at face value. They don't have the education backing it. They're not doctors. But I don't know. I'm not trying to blame her. I'm sure a lot of that came down to like contracts and just like legally binding agreements. That's kind of what it seems like to me. Anyways, we got a couple minutes left, so we will listen to the rest of that.
I was then a brand ambassador. My contract was not renewed. Almost 2 years later, Young Living has sent multiple threats of legal action. They have refused offers to resolve this matter and have sued me in federal court. The bottom line is, you never know you're in a cult until you try to leave. I have tried for more than 2 years to move on, and Young Living simply will not let me go. Please, please, Young Living, let me go and stop this personal attack.
Ooh, okay, I had to pause there because I'm actually getting kind of emotional at this because it's just so heartbreaking. I'm gonna try not to get emotional because that's kind of cringe. No, I'm just kidding. But I would cringe at myself for crying about that. But oh my god, okay, let's reel it in here. I feel very heartbroken for her. I know, like, I was just saying, ooh, I don't want to victim blame, like, why did she stay so long? But, like, this is truly the part of it where it's like, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, how much money you make, nothing. These people will literally, like, suck you dry for everything you have that you can give to them. And the reason why I was getting so emotional mainly, I mean, one, I definitely agree with what you said. You really never know you're in a cult until you're in it. And that truly is how a lot of people get so sucked in. I mean, I will even say when I joined Beachbody, I didn't recognize that I was in an MLM until I was in it. A lot of people don't even know what to look out for. And even when we look at documentaries about cults and stuff, like, that's truly how it happens. What my heart breaks for her with is just that she feels so used and taken advantage of. She was treated so poorly. It sounds like she did way more for them than she should have. I didn't even know how to put it into words, like what I felt when she was saying that, but it's just like the desperation in her voice of like, this is like a last ditch effort to like, please just leave me alone, let me get out of this situation. And it really sucks because this is the type of stuff that anti-MLMers are trying to advocate against, because while this is a rare case, it's not that rare. It's a more extreme version of what we see happen all the time. Anyways, I'm gonna let her finish.
I am not fair game. My name is Dr. Lindsey Elmore. I'm a board-certified pharmacist, a functional medicine clinician, a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, a yoga instructor, and a world-renowned wellness expert. I have a bachelor's in chemistry from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, a doctorate in pharmacy from the University of California, San Francisco. I teach people that everything heals, that we all deserve to be healthy and free. And I teach people how we can break out of traditional models and address the root cause of what is calling us out of health. Everything heals. My legal battle with Young Living is public record. You can look it up.
Okay, that's the end of the video. I think I also feel for her a lot because as a woman, I think that anyone watching this who's also female has been in a position where they've felt like they are completely disposable, whether it's to a company, whether it's to someone else. Sorry. I think that, yeah, I really feel for her. I don't think, obviously, that I would be okay with this happening to anyone. I don't think anyone should be okay with this. It shouldn't just be normal. Or, oh, that, well, you know, that's what you get for getting into an MLM. No, I don't feel that way. I think that this is an extreme case, and I can't even imagine what it feels like. Like, I just think about how I feel when I'm stressed out about the problems in my life. And when you're laying down, you're going to bed at night, and like, that's all you can think about. I'm sure that's what the last 2 years have been like, just trying to figure out a way out of the situation. And the fact that Young Living could treat her or anyone like this speaks volumes. I really do feel for Lindsey in this situation as well, because whether it's an MLM or not, I think that sometimes the way that women in corporate structures are treated is completely unacceptable, and that's very evident by what she was talking about, even with how she was talked down to for wearing pants, how she was treated for her body and for wearing certain clothes, and how women were looked down upon or made to feel like you have to look like XYZ to be accepted and be attractive, but don't be too attractive that your male counterparts like react poorly to you, which is just so ridiculous. And that's just one small piece of like this massive shit pie that is Young Living. This is one of many reasons anyways why I find it's important to speak out against MLMs, and why I feel like there's so much value in anti-MLMers in general and in everyone's content and in everyone's unique perspective, because people do need to be aware of what they're signing up for. Even if you're just signing up for an MLM and you're down at the very bottom, everyone starts at the very bottom with these companies. I mean, look, she signed up as a distributor and look what happened. And obviously that's like a very rare case. Most people don't sign up and then join corporate, but this was someone who was extremely educated, and it was still so easy for her to get roped into this. And then when you look at people who are in like desperate positions, who are unable to pay their bills, or who don't have something to fall back on, or someone to fall back on, or someone to look out for them, like, that's why anti-MLM is important. And I feel like I speak for all of us when I say we want to be that person who's going to provide the knowledge for people to not get sucked into something like this, because not everyone has someone. But yeah, that's basically that. I hope that everything works out for Lindsey. I hope that with this being made more public, maybe they will back down and realize that they can't bully her into a submission, because that really is what it feels like is happening. Again, all alleged. Everything we talked about today is completely alleged, and we are only hearing one side of the story. I feel it's important to say that, but like Lindsey said, court cases, especially like that one, will be public record. I'm not going to read through it all because I'm not a lawyer. I don't feel like my commentary on that would be at all helpful. But yeah, I just hope everything works out for her, and I really do hope that Young Living realizes that they need to back down. Honestly, I'm not even going to lie. My hope is that they won't be around super much longer because of everything going down. But coming up next, I will have a video. I don't know if it'll be my next video or like one after that, but it will probably be very soon. Just about all the sales that Young Living is having and more on that aspect of like the business side kind of failing. Keep an eye out for that. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to hit the subscribe if you are not subscribed already for more upcoming videos, and definitely let me know what you guys think about this whole thing down below, because it's a lot to unpack. Like, it's so crazy. I will probably be thinking about this later and think of something that I didn't even bring up in this video, so we can definitely have some conversations about that down below, because I think this will be on my mind for like the rest of the night, and I'll be even digging more into this. But yeah, with that, I'm gonna head out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.